So here we go. We are on the Arcion Cloud page where we're going to, start both the demos. We'll start with the MySQL one first, and then go to the Oracle one. If you have signed in for Arcion Cloud and you've completed the registration, this is the first page that you're going to get, right? Which is a set of applications that we have already run in the past. In this case, I've run a few of them today and yesterday, so it shows up here. And all of this is categorized based on the type of the application, right? And you can do some actions here, right? Kill it and resume it and all of that. This is like the main replication dashboard at the global level. You have to, and then what we're going to do today is start a few pipelines. So we go and click this new thing, and then, we get started the first one. So the first thing that I'm going to show you is a MySQL data set to SingleStore, and we're going to do a full mode replication here. So we have these three modes that we have to set. Snapshot is, one time thing. Real time is the CDC only. And the thing that we're interested here is the full thing, which is, we'll do historical data load, and then, the CDC, all of them in the same flow, right? There are three write modes for us. Like append is something that you write incrementally to the target platform. Today, we want to also demonstrate additional capabilities of Arcion, where you can create tables automatically on the target system. And especially for SingleStore, we have the ability for the user to select whether they want a row store table, target, column store table, and, they want to, set sort keys, shard keys, and all of the, table specific parameters. So all of that is possible, which is why we will pick this replace mode for the demo, right? So I picked up all of this, selected the name, we'll hit next, right? The next obvious step is to pick up the source here. In this case, I've already pre-populated a source, but it's very easy to create a new source. So if you go to this, you can select, the database type, and you will see the form. It's pretty simple. Username, password, URL, SSL certificates, pretty much basic stuff to connect, right? So I'm going to go with MySQL here. So we have an additional thing for any source, which is called the extractor, which is a set of, config parameters that, are kind of advanced things to pull data out of the databases, right? So number of threads, rows, and all of that advanced stuff. So the TPCH data set here is very small, so we'll go with the default parameters. So we'll not, explicitly create a new extractor for this. But for the Oracle data set, which is kind of a little bit of a bigger scale, we will definitely create an extract, show you that, how to set the extractor value. So we'll go to now, select the target here. We pre-populated a target SingleStore West. We're going to use it, but again, the way to select a new SingleStore target is pretty simple, username, password, SSL certificates, and all of that, very simple stuff. And we also have docs actually for all of the sources and targets, which will help you, to configure the sources and targets for the CDC. So we're going to use the SingleStore thing. And similarly to the source, we had another concept called the applier, which is like a, advanced parameters to do, faster apply to the target system. In this case, since the data set is small, again, we're not going to tinker around with this, but for the next one, I'm going to pick an applier. So we selected the source, we selected the target, we give a name. Let's go to the next step, which is filter. Filter is the step where users tell the product, what schemas are interesting, right? And then what tables are interesting. In this case, I have all these tables in the TPCH schema. I'm going to say, hey, I'm not interested in, let's say, parts of, right, one of the tables, right? I'm interested in the other tables. And then let's say for supplier, for example, right, I'm not interested in, let's say, the comment field, right? So it's a way to filter out tables, columns, and all of that. So we'll hit save here. And then we go to the next step, which is to map, right? So the mapping part is, where you can actually define new names for your schema, tables, and all of that. So in this case, let's say instead of TPCH1M, I'm going to call it TPCH MySQL on the SingleStore side. So just create a different name for the schema, and you can pick up like a table where we can say, hey, part can be part new, right, instead of part. So, just a new name that you could give for any table or any schema here. Just the flexibility is there for the user. And then, as I mentioned, you could actually, select storage types and keys for tables on the single store side. For example, by default, we create row store tables for all input tables. But let's say, hey, this particular table nation, I am interested in a column store table for this, right? And I'm going to say, hey, nation key should be my sort key, and maybe region key should be my partition key, right? I just took up like some random um, keys here, but we'll show that we are able to explicitly define those keys, right? So what I did here is, by default we have row store tables, but if a particular table nation, we have defined a different property, which is to create a column store table, right? So with this, I hit replication here, and this will start the whole process behind the scenes. So what it is doing now is to get some services up and running, and it is going to spin up some resources on the back end to so I'm going to go to the MySQL side, so the SingleStore side, and show you that you know um, so we have an existing thing. We're going to replace it. So this is the main dashboard of our the replication. So what we're seeing here is a thing that has already been started, and tables have been moved, and it looks like we've made 1 million rows pretty fast. This main page would give like a summary of what has happened and what is happening. So right now the application is running, but you can trigger certain actions, which is you can stop and you can terminate and all of that stuff. This is the progress of how many insertions, updates, and deletes have happened. And we have a counter part here, where is the total number of tables, insertions, updates, and all of that, right? So remember, like we were doing a full mode replication here. So when we go to this phase, which is change data capture, this means that the product is ready to accept changes on the MySQL side to be able to pick up and move it to the target system. We also have another interesting feature in the product, which is the live stream of the trace log. And this helps advanced users to actually see what's happening in the system, right? Remember, like this is a Arcion Cloud is a serverless service, right? So users don't get SSH access to the VMs and stuff, right? So this is a good way to see what's happening to your system and all of that. We had talked about the fact that we will take one table, which and put it as a column store, right? So we're going to see the table definitions here real quick. So customer table, by default we have created a row store table, not a surprise. However, there was one table which we had picked up for the I think it was the nation table that we had picked up for the column store, right? So as you can see here, we were able to pick up the mappings that the user defined, and this table has actually become the column store table. So we're good on the mapping side. Then as we are ready for the change data capture, let's do a small transaction on the MySQL side and see if it is reflected on the so I'll pick up the orders table here, which is the biggest table in this data set. We'll put a new name here, which is Arcion single store, and we'll just fire the command here. So we have 255 rows up changed for this transaction. I'll hit commit. So what is happening on the MySQL side is it's flushing all of this to the log, and then at some point in time the Arcion reader is going to pick up the 255 rows and apply it on the single store side. So as you can see here, that was pretty much instantaneous here. We picked up all the 255 changes, and we applied it on the target side, right? So this is also going to show up on the the per table summary thing, which you can go back and forth between the two pages. So this view details thing is to get details per table, right? So there's a lot of meaningful information here, which is this is like a live counter thing, right? How many insertions, deletes, updates, and all of that. And there's the lag per table also. And so I'm going to go to the MySQL side. We'll do just one more change, and I'll demonstrate that this is a repeatable thing, right? It's just not so we did one more change, similar change, and we'll hit commit here, and as you can see, picked up instantaneously, right, by the system. This is like, it's almost like we were able to move the changes within a second, right? So overall, to summarize what we have done, from a small data set from MySQL, we're able to create the tables on the SingleStore side. We're able to say, hey, for one table, we are able to create a column store table, and the others were row store tables. So we can do that mapping. We're able to do the initial, load, and then we did a transaction on the MySQL side, and we were able to reflect that on SingleStore. So with this, the MySQL part of the demo is over. So I'll quickly stop this application, and we'll move on to the next one, which is a bigger data set on the Oracle thing, right? So I'm just going to go to, as you can see here, I stopped the application, and it will be in a stop state very soon. So I'm going to go to another screen here on my page, so that I can quickly start an Oracle thing here, right? So we'll go to the same screen as before, and then this is going to be Oracle SingleStore and full mode. I've already explained all of this to you before, so it's going to be a full mode and replace, except now we're going to go to Oracle, right, as a source. Now this one is a bigger data set, so I would want to use an extractor here. So I've filled up an extractor here with some values here, which is number of threads, fetch size, and all of that. Bigger data sets would require you to read our documentation and kind of define extractors. So I'm going to use an extractor in this case. Select the target again, the same SingleStore thing. And in this case, I want to use an applier, which I've already created. So in this case, I have this S2 app1, which I've created earlier. So I'm going to use that and go to the filter step here. So this is a slightly bigger data set. We're going to use the 10 million data set here. Again, same thing. We want to chop one table out of the whole thing, and in this case, I've already demonstrated to you the ability to map and the table and define sort key, shard key, and all of that per table configuration stuff. So I'm not going to repeat it for Oracle now. So I'm going to just select the schema and the tables, and we'll start the application, right? So remember, this is the 10 million rows data set. So let's see what we have on the SingleStore side, right? So we do not have the schema created yet. So the service has just started, as you can see here. Starting from scratch, we do not have the schema, so we are kind of create the schemas now on the Oracle side, on the SingleStore side. Let's go and see what has happened here. Awesome. So we've got the schema created here. That's 10, and then cool. So we've already created all the tables here on this side. As I mentioned to you, by default, this is going to be a row store table on the SingleStore side, and so okay, cool. So we have created 7 tables. Remember, this is a 10 million data set. We just barely started a minute back. Looks like things are proceeding pretty fast, and the insert rate is very good. We are doing close to 100,000 operations per second here. It's fabulous speed. Let's go to the view details page to see details per table. So the rate is significant. Within a minute, we have been able to move 5 million rows. So probably within a couple of minutes we'll be done with 10 million. So that was and the other thing I didn't show in the last demo was that you have peak rate, average rate, and all of that, right? As you can see, the average rate is pretty good. Like we're still doing like 80,000 operations per second, significantly fast, and 6 million rows have already moved. So we'll go back to the summary till the snapshot is complete. We'll just show you that so the 7 tables created, number of insertions, 0 update because I have not done any CDC. Close to 75,000 operations per second. Buffered operations count is something we do a lot of in-memory processing. So this is the stuff that we keep in the buffer when, and then we, do the update, right? Since this is a bigger data set, we are still loading the snapshot data. Will be done very soon. And then, once the snapshot data is over, this phase is going to change to, that's it, with the change data capture. So let's go back to the stain. So we're pretty much very close to done. As 1.5 minutes, we've done 9 million rows. We'll be done very soon with the, with all of it. And let's go and see on the SingleStore side. I wanted to show you that, we can run some complex queries now on SingleStore, and and get results very quickly. So as you can see here, I've done a join here between the line item table and the orders table, and with an exist clause. Very complicated, analytical query, and SingleStore just came back, in less than a second on this data set, right? So as you stream data, you can, run the queries in alongside, right? So that's the benefit of, a product like SingleStore, where, you can get, transactions and analytics in the same platform. So back to the summary here, just waiting for the last set of operations to be done. It's maintaining the rate here close to 70,000 operations per second, and whoa, okay, so we're done. So 10 million operations in close to like 2.5 minutes, as fast as you can get, and we are ready for changes on Oracle, right? This is the part where, change data capture mode means you're ready to accept changes on Oracle side, right? So the next thing I'm going to do is to actually go to Oracle and, make some changes, right? So I'm on the Oracle side here. I'm going to update, some queries. I probably, do some large updates here. Let's pick up like this thing, and, so this is like a fairly large update on this table. This is a reasonably big transaction on Oracle side. I have changed more than 2,000 rows. It's actually 2,500 rows on just with a single transaction on Oracle. And remember, this table is actually pretty big, right? So if I show you the count for this table is pretty big, right? So it is, close to 2 million rows. So fairly large transaction, 2,000 rows. Let's see how soon can we pick up, right? So we're waiting, to pick up the changes on the SingleStore side. So we'll see. Looks like within a few seconds we have picked up 2,000 operations already. So you can't get faster than this for a CDC pipeline, right? Like almost instantaneous, right? So we just did the change on Oracle, and we've already SingleStore side here. So I'll do one large update as well, so that we're not talking about just one thing fast, right? So I'm going to do a bigger thing here now. So we'll actually change the string so that we're doing it, so we'll say demo for, and then we're going to pick up, a bigger one here, right? So let's say we do like 20,000, right? So this is a 5,000 row update now, bigger, double the size of the update. And, it's going to take a few seconds now to go to the transaction log on the Oracle site, but, let's see, how soon can we pick it up on the Oracle site. So we're just waiting to pick up the changes. I mean, it's a fairly large batch again, 5,000 rows updates. So, we're going to wait for a few seconds to show this. Okay, so looks like we have started picking it up already within a few seconds. So, what I'm demonstrating to you is that the replication from Oracle to SingleStore, in this case, even for a 10 million row data set, is as instantaneous as you want, right? So as you can see here, we have been able to pick up the changes, absolutely like, fast, and it's happening on the, again, as I told you, SingleStore, is capable of running analytical queries absolutely perfectly. So you can actually, I'm going to run this query on SingleStore side. Sorry, I was on the Oracle prompt here. So as you can run here, so the same query, keeps running. So you can do transactions, you can do analytics, on the same platform, SingleStore. So that gives you that added benefit as the data gets streamed in here, these queries will still keep running. That's the beauty of a modern platform like SingleStore, right? Where you can keep ingesting the data from Oracle, and you can still, keep running those queries, without any impact on performance and all of it, right? So to summarize what we have done for Oracle to SingleStore, we actually moved close to 10 million rows. And we created the tables, we did the snapshot, and then we did two very large updates on the orders table. And we've seen that both the updates, which were 2,500 rows and 5,000 rows, got reflected in SingleStore, within the first one got reflected within a few seconds, and the second one was obviously a large batch, so it took close to 20 to 30 seconds. So that's all from my side on the CDC side. The other cool stuff that we have in the product today is the ability to stop and resume pipelines. So with this, let's say you want to stop a pipeline, right? For some reason, to do maintenance or whatever, right? So in this case, I have stopped this pipeline, and I will wait for all the replication metadata and all of that. This fair bit of work that we do on the back end to kind of maintain the checkpoint and all of that. So in this case, I've stopped the pipeline, and you can go to the main page here on the dashboard, and we'll also see that this pipeline is in a stop state, right? So we go, but at any point in time, you can actually go and look at the details, what has happened in this pipeline, how many insert. Just because you have stopped the pipeline doesn't stop you from looking at the details, right? So right now, pipeline is in a stop state. Good, but at some point you may want to come back and say, hey, I have further activity to do on Oracle, so I want to resume this pipeline, right? So what we'll do here is to resume this thing from where we left off. So we're going to wait for the thing to resume now. So we're starting to resume the pipeline again. In a pipeline resumption, also we need to pull in resources from the EC to get the containers up and running. A lot of stuff is happening behind the scenes. So, but you can go back to the summary here, and you can see that we have started to do the thing. So it says running, and the phase is changed at a capture. So which means even after the resume of the pipeline, let's try one more thing, which is one more change on the Oracle side, and see what happens, right? So I'm going to do one more update now after resuming the pipeline, and I'm going to put, let's say Arcion demo S2, right? And again, we're going to do a 500 rows update. We'll do a commit, and what should happen now is even after resuming the pipeline, we should be able to pick up the additional updates, right? So briefly wait for it, and as you can see here, we have already picked up the changes, because I can see the changes being buffered, and practically even after resuming, as you can see here, I picked up the changes, right? So this is a fully resumable pipeline. As you can see, no manual intervention needed. I demonstrated to you that we could stop the replication, restart it, and still we were able to get the changes, right? So with that, I will conclude the demo today. Just to summarize, we did a small data set from MySQL to SingleStore. We provided mappings for the tables. Then we moved on to a 10x bigger data source on Oracle at 10 million rows, and then we also demonstrated that the product scales, right? When you move from 1 million to 10 million, not only we're able to do the initial data load in 3 minutes, we were able to do instantaneous CDC. We stop the pipeline, resume the pipeline, performance doesn't change, we're still able to capture the changes instantaneously. So that concludes the demo from my side. Thank you.